Hello everyone and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to General Hospital spoilers, if Jenz Sidwell's retaliation becomes tragic, Brennan may experience a medical crisis. Let's discuss the danger to Sidwell's safety since Brennan has turned him into a real foe. Fans of GH are aware that Brennan was upset with Sidwell for putting himself in Carly Spencer's face and making vague threats. Brennan made the decision to make his own threat very obvious because of this. Brennan essentially said Carly was off limits on the episode that aired on February 27th. Brennan threatened to drop a bomb on Sidwell and complete the task he began in Africa if he continued to cause problems for Carly. Naturally, that was a risky move because Brennan both called attention to the harm he had already caused Sidwell and threatened to inflict more. Sidwell must be furious now, and if Brennan pushes him too far, he might wind up planning a terrible conclusion. Carly and Brennan will have a great date during the week of March 3rd to 7th, but it will ultimately go south. Sidwell might be the one to make the unexpected interruption. Since Sidwell dislikes being threatened, he might make a move by pursuing Carly once more when she is out with Brennan. It might be Sidwell's method of demonstrating that he does what he wants and that Brennan won't stop him. In any case, Brennan took the risk and might come to regret it if he has made himself a lethal target. Despite his intelligence and lack of fear, Brennan is not invincible. That was demonstrated by Valentine Cassadine, who at that German resort almost erased Brennan from the map. If Carly hadn't come to his aid, Brennan would have died. Sidwell might therefore easily target Brennan at some point and maybe trigger a serious medical emergency. It's simple to picture Carly sitting by Brennan's hospital bedside, worrying about the worst. If Carly nearly loses Brennan, she may come to understand how much she values him. Perhaps we should also take into account the chance that Brennan will be killed off, even though he might survive Sidwell's possible hit on him. Brennan may be fired by GH, if they determine that this recast scenario isn't working. According to General Hospital spoilers, Brennan's choice to agitate Sidwell may cause problems. Therefore, we'll provide you with further danger forecasts and updates on any unfavorable developments. Unveiling the Geo truth. Will Lois, Sunny, and Olivia make it through the fallout? According to General Hospital spoilers, Lois Cerullo should prepare for significant outrage when the truth about Gio Palmieri's real biological parents is eventually revealed. Many people will be angry that she kept this secret, but will it cause her friendships with her best friends, Olivia Falconeri and Sunny Corinthos, to suffer? Lois will assemble her opponents. Since the two had first kept BLQ's teen pregnancy a secret, there will be many individuals who are furious with Lois for keeping this information private, including Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase. Brooke Lynn will be distraught at the thought of having watched her own son grow up, and then spend months living in the same home as him without realizing it. In addition to Dante Falconeri, Gio should also be upset with Lois, particularly considering that he was a young orphan in recent years, despite the fact that both of his biological families are multimillionaires. Aside from financial considerations, Gio probably would have just desired a family to support and be a part of. Will all of Gio and Lois's scars be healed with time? Although they share a unique affinity, is he able to forgive her? To what extent will Sunny and Olivia be upset? Sunny is a laid-back friend. Even though he might be a little upset with Lois, he will eventually comprehend her motivations. It was most likely Lois who suggested to Sunny that he contribute to Joe's expenses over time. He will not harbor resentment. Olivia, however, is going to be furious. She might be upset with Brooke Lynn and Lois for not keeping her informed, as the baby was placed for adoption by a member of the community. What if Gio was to be raised by her or Dante? Olivia will be disappointed if she isn't given that choice and feels as though years have been squandered since she isn't there for Gio as a grandmother. Will this be something she and Lois can overcome? Lulu's affection for Dante grows stronger. Does he feel the same, though? General Hospital spoilers' reminiscent feelings for her ex-boyfriend, Dante Falconeri, have been resurfacing like nobody's business since Lulu Spencer's coma ended. She is attempting to maintain her composure because she has a lot on her plate just going back to normal, but how does she light up around Dante? It's becoming more difficult to conceal. Everyone is curious as to whether Lulu is rowing this love boat alone, or if Dante is surreptitiously rowing right by her. This ship is about to experience some emotional waves, So fasten your seatbelts. Spoilers for General Hospital. Is Lulu on an island? Lulu has endured a lot of hardships. You'll experience it after years in a coma. Yet seeing Dante again makes her heart race in ways she can't quite control. Perhaps it's those silent times when their past looms large in the background, or the way he checks in on her, all familiar and protective. Whatever it is, lingering looks, gentle smiles, perhaps even a casual touch that drags on for too long, Lulu's emotions are sliding through the cracks. The vibrations are there, and everyone around them isn't blind, but she isn't shouting it from the rooftops just yet because she has Rocco Falconeri to consider and her own recuperation. Is Lulu preparing for another heartbreak? Or might this be the beginning of a reunion? Dante's heart is trapped in an emotional tug-of-war. According to GH spoilers. Let's flip the coin now. Fans are noticing something, even though Dante isn't exactly open these days. Yes, he is still very much in the trenches of Sam McCall's grief. Her passing left a void in his life that hasn't been filled. However, there is a flicker, a tenderness in his eyes, and a hesitancy in his voice when he is with Lulu that suggests he may not be as over her as he believes. Does Dante harbor a secret flame for his first love? Maybe, but remorse hits him like a freight train whenever he even thinks about going on. It feels like a betrayal to him to let go of Sam's memories, and he's not sure he's ready to explore what remains with Lulu. Spoilers for General Hospital. What is the destination of this love boat? What does this mean for our star-crossed ex-partners? Lulu's feelings are beginning to surface. Will she dance around them until Dante approaches? Or will she reveal them when she feels vulnerable? Dante's heart is tugging him in two different directions. Back to Sam's ghost, where he is unable to move on from her passing, and back to Lulu's comforting familiarity. Could a shared experience, such as a late-night conversation about Rocco or a persistent handshake, break down his barriers and demonstrate to Lulu that he is not as cold as he appears? Or will he suppress those emotions, abandoning Lulu to her selfish desire? Friday, February 28th. General Hospital spoilers and updates hint to flirty pals, friendly warnings, and suspicious Sonny Corinthos. It appears that Cody Bell has a flirting acquaintance, and something is raising Sonny's suspicions, so Isaiah Gannon issues a gentle caution. Requesting favors. Lucky Spencer just came out of a near-death experience after telling Sonny about his uncanny experience of hearing Luke Spencer imploring him to come back to life. Now that he is conscious and no longer on life support, he stands up with a purpose and is prepared to request a big favor from someone. His mother, Laura Collins, who rushed over from her office after Felicia Scorpio told her of his awakening, is most likely the person he is speaking to. Now that Sonny is driving her, Laura is naturally by Lucky's side at this crucial juncture. What favor is Lucky going to ask for is still an interesting issue. Cautionary notes. In another scene, Jordan Ashford, who is working covertly to gather information on the elusive Jenz Sidwell, receives some wise counsel from Isaiah. Isaiah warns her of the risky game being played, even if she chooses to accept the charming but dishonest Sidwell's invitation to supper. Sidwell and Drew Quartermain are working together to organize the purchase of Sonny's piers in order to build the Esplanade. Jordan is warned by Isaiah that her safety may be in jeopardy if she tampers with Sidwell's plans, and he's probably right. Friends that are flirtatious. Cody appears to have attracted the attention of a lively companion at the Quartermain mansion, insinuating that she might eventually find the courage to voice her sentiments. Molly Lansing Davis exudes flirting. Her manner is definitely alluring, with a vibrant bounce in her step and her hair falling loosely around her. Interestingly, Molly seems to be looking for a new relationship, even though she hasn't formally left her domestic partnership with TJ Ashford. In contrast to a formal marriage, there might not be a waiting time for ending a domestic partnership. Dinner and guidance. Sitting at Charlie's pub, enjoying a cup of coffee and a lunch with Rick Lansing, is Ava Jerome. Rick gives her some advice during their talk, telling her not to tempt fate. This warning could precede any drama, but it could also follow an upcoming confrontation with Christina Corinthos Davis. Rick's advice to Ava is unambiguous. Proceed with caution in a difficult circumstance. But given Ava's fiery personality, it's highly probable that she will reject his counsel. Frustrated exasperation. At the Quartermain home, Sasha Gilmore Corbin is struggling with a flurry of emotions and is on the verge of losing it. Her voice quivers with annoyance when she confides in someone, expressing her doubts about how much longer she can put up with. The pressure is increasing as her pregnancy hormones spike, and her baby bump becomes more apparent. In order to protect Michael Corinthos during his custody dispute, she made a deal with Jason Morgan, convincing him to agree that he is the father of her child. Who is now making Sasha more upset, though, and why does someone come forward to apologize? Comprehending Jason. It's possible that Sasha is talking to Jason, who shows that he understands by saying, "You want to be the one in control, duh." Sasha's sentiments regarding her pregnancy and her resolve to raise her child on her own are aptly captured in this phrase. She has maintained that she doesn't need help with parenting, and has made it apparent from the start that this is her baby and her decision. Sasha is really excited to take charge when her child comes. Sonny is untrustworthy. As Sonny confides in someone that something doesn't feel quite right, he becomes more and more cautious. He had been told that Sidwell was trying to take his possessions, both before he had his own encounter with Lucky and before Laura had received the frightening call regarding Lucky. Sidwell and Drew had joined forces and were planning to take the land by eminent domain. Laura had warned him about Sidwell before, calling him a problem. Sonny's suspicions grow stronger, and his misgivings become more profound as he mulls over this disturbing circumstance. Brennan's medical crisis. Will Sidwell's revenge end in tragedy? The air was thick with tension as Brennan sat in the dimly lit hospital room, his face pale and drawn. The steady beep of the heart monitor was a grim reminder of his fragile state. He had always been a man of strength and resilience, but now, lying in that sterile bed, he felt like a shadow of his former self. The medical crisis had come out of nowhere, striking him down at the peak of his career. But Brennan knew this wasn't just a twist of fate. It was the result of Sidwell's relentless pursuit of revenge. Sidwell. The name alone sent a shiver down Brennan's spine. Once a trusted colleague and friend, Sidwell had become his greatest adversary. Their falling out had been sudden and brutal, a clash of egos and ambitions that left their professional relationship in ruins. Brennan had emerged victorious, securing the promotion they had both coveted, but Sidwell had not taken the defeat lightly. He had vowed revenge, and now it seemed he had finally achieved it. The events leading up to Brennan's hospitalization were a blur. It had started with subtle sabotage, missed deadlines, misplaced documents, and whispered rumors that threatened to tarnish his reputation. Brennan had tried to ignore it, chalking it up to workplace politics, but the attacks had grown more personal. Anonymous emails, late-night phone calls, and even a break-in at his home had left him on edge. Then came the final blow. A mysterious illness that left him bedridden and fighting for his life. Doctors were baffled by Brennan's condition. Tests revealed no clear cause, yet his body was failing him. His strength waned, his organs struggled to function, and his mind was plagued by paranoia. Brennan was convinced that Sidwell was behind it all, but he had no proof. Sidwell was too clever, too calculated to leave a trail. He had always been a master manipulator, and now he was playing a dangerous game, one that could end in tragedy. As Brennan lay in the hospital bed, his thoughts turned to the past. He and Sidwell had once been inseparable, their bond forged in the fires of shared ambition and mutual respect. They had dreamed of changing the world, of leaving a legacy that would outlast them. But somewhere along the way their paths had diverged. Brennan had climbed the corporate ladder with ease, while Sidwell had struggled to keep up. The resentment had festered, growing into something dark and destructive. Brennan's wife, Claire, sat by his bedside, her eyes red from sleepless nights and silent tears. She had always been his rock, the one person who believed in him unconditionally. But even she was beginning to crack under the weight of the crisis. "You need to fight this," she whispered, gripping his hand. "For us. For our family." Brennan wanted to reassure her, to tell her that he would overcome this, but the words caught in his throat. He was tired, so tired, and the thought of facing Sidwell's wrath again filled him with dread. He knew that Sidwell wouldn't stop until he had destroyed everything Brennan held dear. And now, with Brennan incapacitated, Sidwell had the upper hand. Meanwhile, Sidwell watched from the shadows, his satisfaction growing with each passing day. He had planned every detail meticulously, ensuring that Brennan would never see the full extent of his revenge. The illness was just the beginning, a way to weaken Brennan both physically and mentally. Sidwell had no intention of stopping there. He wanted Brennan to suffer, to feel the same pain and humiliation that he had endured. But as the days turned into weeks, Sidwell began to feel a twinge of doubt. He had always been driven by his desire for revenge, but now, faced with the reality of Brennan's suffering, he wondered if he had gone too far. The man lying in that hospital bed was no longer the confident, arrogant rival he had despised. He was broken, vulnerable, and human. Sidwell had never considered the possibility that his actions could lead to tragedy, but now the thought haunted him. The tension between the two men reached a boiling point when Sidwell finally confronted Brennan in the hospital room. The air was electric as they locked eyes, years of anger and resentment bubbling to the surface. "You did this to me," Brennan rasped, his voice weak but filled with accusation. Sidwell hesitated, his mask of confidence slipping for the first time. "You brought this on yourself," he replied, though his words lacked conviction. "You took everything from me. This was the only way to make you understand." Brennan's eyes burned with a mixture of anger and despair. "You think this is justice? You think destroying me will make you whole again? Look at what you've become, Sidwell. You're not the man I once knew." The word struck a nerve, and Sidwell's hands clenched into fists. He had spent so long consumed by his desire for revenge that he had lost sight of who he was. The man standing before Brennan was a stranger, driven by hatred and bitterness. And now, faced with the consequences of his actions, he was forced to confront the truth. The confrontation ended in a tense silence, both men grappling with the weight of their choices. Brennan's condition continued to deteriorate, and Sidwell was left to wrestle with his conscience. He had achieved his revenge, but at what cost? The line between justice and tragedy had blurred, and he was no longer sure which side he stood on. As the days passed, Sidwell found himself drawn back to the hospital, unable to stay away. He watched from a distance as Brennan's family gathered around his bedside, their grief palpable. He saw the toll his actions had taken, not just on Brennan, but on everyone who loved him. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. His revenge had not brought him the closure he sought. Instead, it had left him empty and alone. In a moment of clarity, Sidwell made a decision. He would put an end to the cycle of revenge, no matter the cost. He approached Brennan's room with a heavy heart, ready to face the consequences of his actions. But when he stepped inside, he found the bed empty. Brennan was gone. The news of Brennan's death sent shockwaves through the community. Friends, colleagues, and loved ones mourned the loss of a man who had once been a beacon of strength and ambition. Sidwell was left to grapple with the weight of his guilt, knowing that he had played a role in Brennan's downfall. In the aftermath, Sidwell tried to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. He sought redemption in small acts of kindness, hoping to atone for the pain he had caused. But the scars of his actions ran deep, and he knew that he could never truly undo the damage. Brennan's medical crisis had been a turning point, a stark reminder of the destructive power of revenge. The story of Brennan and Sidwell serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the pursuit of vengeance often comes at a great cost. In the end, both men were victims of their own choices, their lives forever altered by the tragedy that unfolded. And as Sidwell walked away from the hospital, he couldn't help but wonder if it had all been worth it. The geo-truth unveiled. Can Sunny, Olivia, and Lois survive the fallout? The air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes a storm. In the small, close-knit town of Willow Creek, secrets were currency and everyone had a price. But no one could have anticipated the magnitude of the secret about to be revealed, the truth about Geo. For years Geo had been a shadowy figure, a name whispered in hushed tones, a mystery that no one dared to unravel. But now the truth was out, and it threatened to destroy the lives of 3 people who had been inextricably linked to him: Sunny, Olivia, and Lois. The revelation. It all began with a letter, an unassuming envelope lft on Sunny's doorstep. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the contents were earth-shattering. The letter detailed Joe's true identity and the web of lies he had spun over the years. Geo wasn't who he claimed to be. He wasn't the charming, enigmatic artist who had swept into town a decade ago, capturing hearts and minds with his talent and charisma. He was a con artist, a master manipulator who had used his charm to exploit those around him. The letter didn't stop there. It revealed that Geo had been involved in a series of financial scams, leaving a trail of ruined lives in his wake. But the most devastating revelation was personal. Gio had fathered a child during his time in Willow Creek, a child he had abandoned without a second thought. That child was Olivia's son, a fact she had kept hidden from everyone, including Sunny and Lois. As the news spread, the town was thrown into chaos. Joe's name was on everyone's lips, and the fallout was immediate. For Sunny, Olivia, and Lois, the revelation was a personal earthquake, shaking the foundations of their lives and relationships. Sunny, the loyal friend. Sunny had always been the rock of the group, the one everyone turned to in times of trouble. He was a man of principle with a strong sense of right and wrong. But the truth about Gio tested his loyalty in ways he had never imagined. Sunny had considered Gio a friend, even a brother. They had shared dreams, ambitions, and countless late-night conversations about life and art. To discover that Gio had been lying to him all along was a betrayal that cut deep. Sunny struggled to reconcile the man he thought he knew with the man revealed in the letter. Was everything they had shared a lie? Had Gio ever truly cared about him? Or had he been just another pawn in Joe's game? As the days passed, Sunny found himself questioning everything. His judgment, his relationships, even his own identity. He had always prided himself on being a good judge of character, but Gio had fooled him completely. The realization left him feeling vulnerable and exposed, a feeling he wasn't used to. But Sunny wasn't just dealing with his own pain. He was also trying to support Olivia and Lois, both of whom were struggling in their own ways. He felt a responsibility to hold them together, even as he was falling apart himself. It was a heavy burden, but Sunny had never been one to back down from a challenge. Olivia, the protective mother. For Olivia, the revelation about Gio was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it confirmed what she had always suspected, that Gio was a liar and a fraud. On the other hand, it brought to light a secret she had worked hard to keep buried. The truth about her son's paternity. Olivia had always been fiercely protective of her son, shielding him from the harsh realities of the world. She had never told him about Gio, choosing instead to raise him as a single mother. She had convinced herself that it was for the best, that her son didn't need to know the truth about his father. But now, with the truth out in the open, she was forced to confront the consequences of her decision. The revelation sparked a wave of emotions: anger, guilt, fear. Olivia was angry at Gio for abandoning them, guilty for keeping the truth from her son, and fearful of how he would react when he found out. She knew she couldn't keep the secret any longer, but the thought of telling her son the truth filled her with dread. Olivia also had to deal with the fallout in her relationships with Sunny and Lois. Both had been pillars of support for her over the years, but the revelation about Gio had created a rift between them. Sunny felt betrayed that Olivia had kept such a big secret from him, while Lois was struggling with her own feelings of guilt and regret. Despite the turmoil, Olivia was determined to protect her son. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to fight for him, no matter the cost. Lois, the guilty conscience. Lois had always been the quiet one, the observer. She was the kind of person who preferred to stay in the background, avoiding conflict and drama. But the revelation about Gio forced her out of her comfort zone and into the spotlight. Lois had known Gio longer than anyone else in Willow Creek. They had grown up together, and she had always been drawn to his charisma and ambition. But she had also seen his darker side, the manipulative streak that he kept hidden from most people. She had tried to warn others about him, but no one had listened. Over time, she had learned to keep her distance, choosing to focus on her own life rather than get caught up in Joe's schemes. But the revelation about Gio brought back a flood of memories and emotions. Lois couldn't help but feel guilty for not doing more to stop him. She wondered if she could have prevented the damage he had caused if she had spoken up sooner. The guilt weighed heavily on her, and she found herself questioning her own choices and actions. Lois also had to deal with the impact of the revelation on her relationships with Sunny and Olivia. She felt a sense of responsibility for what had happened, even though she knew it wasn't entirely her fault. She wanted to help them, but she wasn't sure how. She was used to being the one who listened, not the one who took action. As the days passed, Lois began to realize that she couldn't stay on the sidelines any longer. She had to confront her own feelings and take responsibility for her role in the situation. It was a daunting prospect, but she knew it was the only way to move forward. The fallout. The fallout from the revelation about Gio was far-reaching, affecting not just Sunny, Olivia, and Lois, but the entire town of Willow Creek. Joe's scams had left many people financially ruined, and the sense of betrayal was palpable. The town was divided, with some people calling for justice and others trying to distance themselves from the scandal. For Sunny, Olivia, and Lois, the fallout was deeply personal. They had to navigate a minefield of emotions, from anger and betrayal to guilt and regret. Each of them was forced to confront their own vulnerabilities and insecurities, and to question the choices they had made. But amidst the chaos, there were also moments of clarity and growth. Sunny, Olivia, and Lois began to realize that they couldn't change the past, but they could control how they responded to it. They had to find a way to move forward not just for themselves but for each other. Can they survive? The question on everyone's mind was whether Sunny, Olivia, and Lois could survive the fallout. The road ahead was uncertain, and there were no easy answers. But one thing was clear: they couldn't do it alone. Sunny, Olivia, and Lois had always been there for each other, and that wasn't going to change. They had been through too much together to let Joe's lies tear them apart. Lulu's love for Dante intensifies, but does he feel the same? Love is never simple, and in the case of Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri, emotions run deeper than either of them may realize. Their relationship has been tested time and again, yet Lulu finds herself more in love with Dante than ever. However, the question remains, does Dante feel the same way? Or has their love story taken an irreversible turn? Lulu's unwavering devotion. From the moment Lulu met Dante, their connection was undeniable. He was charming, protective, and steadfast, a man with integrity who captured her heart. Their love story, filled with triumphs and tribulations, has been a central part of their journey together. Even after enduring heartbreak and separation, Lulu's love for Dante has only grown stronger. She sees in him the man she always wanted, the father of their child, and the love of her life. Despite the obstacles, she remains hopeful that their bond will survive anything. Her devotion is unwavering, and with every passing moment, she dreams of a future where they can be a family again. Dante's conflicted feelings. While Lulu's love has intensified, Dante's emotions are far more complicated. After all they have been through, the betrayals, misunderstandings, and painful goodbyes, Dante has built a wall around his heart. He cares deeply for Lulu, but does he still love her the way he once did? Dante's time away changed him. He is no longer the same man who promised Lulu forever. His experiences have hardened him, and though he still respects and admires her, he may not be able to return to the love they once shared. Is he holding back out of fear, or has his heart moved on completely? The struggle to reconnect. Lulu and Dante's attempts to reconcile have been anything but easy. The deep wounds from the past resurface each time they try to mend what was broken. Lulu believes their love is strong enough to withstand the trials, but Dante's actions suggest otherwise. He is distant, guarded, and hesitant to open himself up again. Lulu is willing to fight for their love, but is she fighting alone? Dante's reluctance raises the painful question: if he still loved her, wouldn't he be willing to try? Or is he afraid of hurting her once more? Their struggle to reconnect is a battle between hope and reality, with Lulu holding on to the past while Dante remains uncertain about the future. Outside forces and new obstacles. Love is never just about two people. There are always outside influences that shape their destiny. For Lulu and Dante, external pressures only add to their turmoil. From interfering family members to new romantic interests, their love faces continuous challenges. Perhaps Dante has found comfort elsewhere, or maybe someone is whispering doubts into his ear. If there is another woman in the picture, where does that leave Lulu? And if Lulu is the only one fighting for their love, how long before she realizes that love isn't enough when it's one-sided? A painful realization. As much as Lulu wants to believe in their love, she cannot ignore the signs. She sees the hesitation in Dante's eyes, the way he avoids conversations about the future, and the lack of passion in his voice. A painful truth may be on the horizon. Dante may never love her the way she loves him. If she is the only one willing to fight for them, she must ask herself if she can continue living in denial. Can she force someone to love her back? Or will she eventually have to accept that their story may not have the happy ending she desperately desires? A love worth fighting for? Lulu is at a crossroads. Does she continue pouring her heart into a love that may never be reciprocated? Or does she walk away and open herself up to new possibilities? Dante holds the answer, but only time will reveal whether his heart still belongs to Lulu, or if he has already let go. For now, Lulu's love for Dante is stronger than ever. But love is a two-way street. If Dante doesn't feel the same, will she have the strength to let go?